All right, deep divers, welcome back. You ready to dive into some political waters today?
Always ready to get a little wet.
Okay, great. So today we are going to be talking about the 2024 U.S. presidential race between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
Oh boy, here we go.
And all of this information comes from an article in the Daily Beast by Marianne Akers called "Kamala's Campaign: Trump's Garbage Will Get Harris Elected."
Sounds like a real page turner.
Now, before we jump in, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment for more deep dives on current events.
Yeah, we love hearing from you guys.
Okay, so this article, really interesting. It kicks off with some internal data from the Harris campaign, suggesting that she's winning over those late-breaking voters
Interesting.
by, like, a significant margin.
Yeah, the ones that, wait until the very last minute to make up their mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's pretty typical, I think, in a close election.
Right.
But it does tell us a little bit about the strategies of the campaigns at this point.
Okay.
It seems like Harris is really honing in on those undecided voters.
Okay.
Whereas maybe Trump is focusing more on getting his base out to vote.
Okay. And the article specifically points to Trump's recent behavior as a reason why these undecided voters might be turning towards Harris.
Right. I mean, it's no secret that Trump can be a very polarizing figure.
Yeah.
Some people love him, some people hate him. But it seems like his actions are starting to alienate even some of his own supporters.
Yeah. They even call out that rally at Madison Square Garden,
Oh, yeah, I read about that.
where the comedian made those offensive remarks about Puerto Rico, calling it like a floating island of garbage.
Yikes. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely not going to win you any votes in Florida.
Yeah, probably not.
Or anywhere else, for that matter. I mean, it's just not a good look.
It's hard to imagine that that would help win anybody over.
Yeah. You gotta wonder if that's part of a pattern. If
Yeah.
you look back at Trump's campaign style, he's always been about sort of stirring up controversy
Right.
and, appealing to a very specific base.
Okay.
But could that be backfiring with undecided voters this time around? I mean, are they looking for someone a little more
Presidential?
president? Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe they're tired of the drama.
So speaking of not so presidential, this article also claims that Harris's officials are kind of expecting Trump to prematurely declare victory on election night,
Oh, wow. Really?
regardless of what the actual vote count is.
So like a repeat of 2020.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it certainly wouldn't be the first time that a candidate has tried to pull something like that.
Right.
But it does raise some questions about what his motives might be,
Okay.
Is he trying to sow distrust in the electoral process?
Okay.
Especially if the results end up being close.
Or is he just trying to, like, get ahead of the narrative?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, who knows what's going on in that head of his.
Yeah, true. Well, the Harris campaign isn't taking any chances because they have apparently assembled like a massive team of lawyers
Oh, really?
ready to combat any legal challenges that Trump might throw their way.
Well, that's smart. I mean, it sounds like they're preparing for an all-out legal war. Which, in a close election, legal preparedness can be just as important as winning votes.
Right?
I mean, remember the 2000 election?
Oh, yeah.
Where the outcome basically came down to hanging chads and a Supreme Court decision?
Yeah. It's crazy to think that it could come down to something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you how important it is to have a good legal team.
Right. And to be prepared for anything.
Exactly. Because in this day and age, anything can happen.
Yeah. That's true.
You never know what tricks the other side might pull out of their sleeve.
All right. So we've got late-breaking voters favoring Harris.
Right?
Trump's questionable behavior, maybe pushing people away,
Mm-hmm.
a potential fake victory declaration,
Yeah.
and lawyers.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride, folks.
It sounds like it.
Buckle up. Feels like we're watching one of those, like a political thriller
Right.
play out in real time.
Yeah.
You got the underdog surging in the polls,
Yeah.
a very volatile incumbent doing everything they can to stay in power, and a potential legal showdown brewing.
Yeah. And speaking of that potential victory declaration,
Right.
regardless of the results, it's a bold strategy.
It is. It's like throwing a grenade into an already tense situation. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine one candidate claims victory before all the votes are even counted.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for chaos,
Right.
confusion among voters,
Yeah.
potentially
that.
even inciting unrest among supporters.
Yeah. It feels like we're tiptoeing on the edge of a constitutional crisis here.
It does a little bit. And with the Harris campaign assembling this legal team,
Right.
it sounds like they're really preparing for a fight
Yeah.
that could go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. That's a scary thought. It wouldn't be the first time.
No, not at all. I mean, remember Bush v. Gore in 2000?
Oh, yeah.
That whole saga really showed us how messy things can get
Right.
when the stakes are this high.
So let's play devil's advocate here for a second.
Okay.
What kind of legal challenges could we actually see play out in this scenario?
Well, I mean, based on past elections, we could see disputes over vote counts in key states,
Right.
challenges to mail-in ballots,
Yeah.
maybe even accusations of voter fraud,
Wow.
attempts to stop the counting of ballots prematurely.
Okay. So it really sounds like we're headed for a chaotic situation.
It does, and that's why it's so significant that the Harris campaign is emphasizing this legal preparedness.
Right.
I mean, it sends a very clear message that they're not going to let any attempts to undermine the democratic process
Right.
go unchallenged. It's basically saying, bring it on, we're ready to fight.
So it's not just about winning the election at this point.
No.
It's about safeguarding the entire system.
Absolutely. In a democracy, the peaceful transfer of power is paramount.
Right.
I mean, if one side refuses to accept the results and tries to overturn them
Yeah.
through whatever means necessary,
Mm-hmm.
it sets a dangerous precedent
Right.
that could erode public trust.
Wow. Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from late deciding voters and Trump's tactics to this potential legal showdown. What does it all mean for the average voter?
Well, the key takeaway, I think, is that this election is going to be a nail-biter.
Okay.
Every vote will count.
Right.
The outcome's going to likely hinge on a few key factors.
Okay. Like what?
Turnout,
Okay.
the impact of Trump's behavior on key demographics,
Okay.
and the ability of both campaigns to navigate the legal landscape.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
buckle up, folks. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
All right, deep divers, back for the final leg of our deep dive today.
That's right.
Back for more. Looking at the 2024 election between Trump and Harris,
It's a crazy one.
we've explored the late deciding voters, unpacked some of those eyebrow-raising campaign tactics,
And what if they unprecedented?
and we even took a peek into the lawyer-filled war room,
Oh, yeah.
getting ready for that potential legal battle.
Definitely a lot to unpack.
It is. But before we wrap things up, I kind of want to take a moment to look back at history.
Oh, yeah. Let's put things in perspective.
I'm always up for a history lesson.
Yeah.
What are we cracking open today?
Well, this whole scenario with the potential legal challenges
Yeah.
recounts,
Yeah.
it reminds me of the 2000 election.
No, yeah. That was a wild one.
You remember Bush v. Gore?
Oh, yeah. It came down to just a handful of votes in Florida.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a very controversial Supreme Court decision.
I remember watching that unfold. It was crazy.
Like a real nail-biter.
Yeah.
And you know, it reminds us that these elections can be so incredibly close.
Yeah.
Sometimes the outcome hinges on the tiniest details,
Right.
legal interpretations.
Like those hanging chads.
Yeah, exactly.
So are we saying that there is a chance that this election could also end up in the Supreme Court's hands?
It's definitely possible, especially if the margins are as thin as they're predicted to be.
Wow. Okay. So history could repeat itself.
It could.
All right. So let's shift gears and talk about potential outcomes here.
Okay.
What are experts saying about how this wild ride might actually end?
Honestly, it's still anyone's game.
Okay.
The polls are all over the place. There are so many unpredictable factors.
Yeah.
But if the Harris campaign's data is accurate,
Yeah.
and they really are swaying those late deciders,
Right.
that could give them a significant advantage.
But then we also can't ignore the wild card that is Trump
Right.
and his potential to just completely contest the results.
Yeah, that's the X factor that makes this election feel so different.
Right.
So much more consequential.
Yeah. It's not just about who wins at this point.
No.
It's about whether or not the outcome is going to be accepted peacefully.
Exactly. Will the loser concede gracefully?
Right.
Will the democratic process be respected?
That's a good question.
These are the questions that keep me up at night.
Well, deep divers, as we resurface from this deep dive into the 2024 election,
Yeah,
we're going to leave you with a question.
right.
What do you think is going to be the decisive factor
Yeah.
in this election?
What's it going to come down to?
Will it be turnout,
The campaigns.
legal maneuvering?
Who knows?
Let us know your predictions down in the comments.
We want to hear from you.
And while you're down there, make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this.
Keep on diving.
See you in the next one.